Dear friends, today we want to follow the liturgy of Monday of the Holy Week. And we are going to meditate upon two important passages, especially in the Gospel, where we see that Mary is going to prepare the body of Christ for the burial, is preparing the body of Christ for the sacrifice. So today we're going to zero in on two people. First, Judas, and secondly, Mary. Judas, the betrayer, the one who is going to betray Jesus for $30. And Mary, on the contrary, who spends $300 for the perfume to anoint the feet of Jesus. So that story goes that Jesus, after the entrance in Jerusalem, goes to Bethany again. And they said that they organized a big dinner for the resurrection of Lazarus. If you remember, last week, Lazarus was resurrected by Jesus. This week, just before the Passover, they have a big celebration for Lazarus. And during the celebration, Mary takes an alabaster vase with a very expensive perfume and anoints the feet of Jesus. In the same time, Judas is planning to betray his master. He's talking to the Pharisees and he's coming to an agreement that they pay 30 silver pieces, let's say $30, the price for a slave. So Judas is coming to finalize his betrayal. Try to remember, Judas was with Jesus for 3 years. Judas had seen so many miracles. Probably he himself was able to perform some miracles. Judas had heard all the speeches, the parables of Jesus. Judas has also experienced the tenderness, the love of Jesus. How come nothing entered into his heart? And Judas had two main faults. First of all, he wanted to force Jesus to become a political messiah, a liberator, a general with the army. He wanted to start a revolution against the Romans, but Jesus never went that way. Secondly, Judas was a thief, like the gospel says. He was attached to money, and because of money, he closed his heart to all kinds of graces. He really was totally indifferent to the message of Jesus. And remember, Jesus tried so many times to convince him. You remember, he warned him many times. Then when he said, it is not possible to serve money and God. Then you remember, he says, blessed are the poor. Then remember when the widow gave the little coin in the door of the temple, he showed that little offerings was even more important than so much money that the rich people could give. And finally, it says in the Last Supper, Jesus is trying to convince him. He's trying to bring him closer to him. But Judas never opened his mind, his heart to Jesus. Actually, Saint John says that the devil entered the heart of Judas. And so until the last minute, remember that in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he brought the soldiers to arrest him, he said, friend, why you betray your master with a kiss? So you see, Jesus tried so hard to really bring Judas back into the flock, into the faith, into forgiveness. But Judas never listened, mostly because he was a thief. That means he was attached to money, and also because he had his own plan, his own ideas. He didn't want Jesus to follow the will of God, but to follow the will of the world. Now, on the other side, we see Mary. Mary is a very loving young lady. Actually, she was a sinner, public sinner, but she is full of love with Jesus. to a point that she takes the most expensive perfume and she goes and she anoints the feet of Jesus and she wipes his feet with her hair. Now here, look at Jesus, how he accepts also this sign of tenderness, this sign of love. And then when Judas some kind complained, because why to waste so much money? $300, remember, while Judas has sold Jesus for $30. So while Judas is complaining, Mary is loving. And Jesus says, leave her alone, because he says, you always are going to have the poor with you, but me, you are not going to have me all the times. And so he was already prophesying that that was his last week here on earth. So you see that Mary is the loving soul that doesn't care how much she spends. She doesn't care what people will think. She's just full of love of Jesus, and Jesus accepts that type of love. Actually, Jesus says that wherever the gospel is going to be announced, everybody's going to remember the love of this simple but faithful woman, Mary. So you see that the perfume is a sign of heaven, sign of faith, sign of prayer. And the gospel says that that perfume somehow filled with the fragrance the whole house. And here we have to remember that even if one person in a family has that strong faith, that faith will fill the whole house with the fragrance of the divine graces. So you see that even sometimes, we are sorry, we feel bad because our children don't go to Mass, our children don't go to church, but let's keep that fragrance in the house, and then the whole house is going to be perfumed, is going to be uplifted. So today we have to somehow come down to 4 basic truths. First of all, the reality of betrayal. I'm sure in our life we also experienced many times this terrible pain, which is the betrayal. I'm thinking about the husband and wife that cheat on each other. I think about children who somehow cheat on their parents. I think about workers who, in order to prevail, they don't care about even ruining another family. I think about people who are sick, that left alone, abandoned. I think about children in the womb who have been betrayed and snuck out of the womb and thrown in the garbage. So you see that betrayal is a reality in our world, is a reality in our life. Are we ready to accept the betrayal in our life? Like Jesus, even though he tried everything, he accepted the fact that Judas was going to deliver him, was going to betray him. So remember, betrayal is part of our life. We have to accept it. Secondly, money can ruin a life. Money can ruin a family. Money can ruin even the church. Yes, Jesus said very clearly, we cannot serve God and money. So sometimes, with the excuse that we have to provide for our family, we are very attached to that money. And for money, we deny God, we deny our family, our children, we deny everything. Because sometimes money has taken over our life. Am I allowing money to take over my life, my family, my community? So it is important to remember that we all have a Judas in our life. In our life, we cannot go through without a Judas. Like Jesus was not called to die on the cross if it wasn't for the betrayal of Judas. So if you have a Judas, accept him. Try to forgive him. But especially be careful. Do not become a Judas for anyone else. And then, if you remember, we as a Christians, we are called to be crucified like Jesus. We are called to end up on the cross. That's our calling, that's our mission, to be sacrificed like Jesus was sacrificed for us. We must be sacrificed for others. So this Holy Monday, we want to realize, to reflect on this double image. Judas, who's betraying Jesus, the other side, Mary, who's showing her love for Jesus. And finally, we too, we have to become like Jesus, crucified. In our life, we are going to be crucified. Let us accept willingly, like Jesus, the cross that God has planned for us in our life. God bless you.